I think people forget that Nigeria's history is directly tied to the history of Black Americans in America. I think people forget that enslaved people came from places in Nigeria, right? I'm Igbo. A lot of the Baya Biafra, a lot of enslaved people came from that area. Right, and I think people don't realize that, right? So somebody who's in the diaspora, a Black American, we could have very well shared the same great 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 grandfather or great 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 grandmother, right? I think we forget that families were broken up. People lived in fear, people lived in terror, people adjusted, their cultures and their traditions and their lives around the slave trade. You know, families were broken up, societies were ruined, and then after that, there was colonization. And during colonization, there was a mass murder of many people, many tribes, many elders. There was a lot of violence, perpetuated by the, colonizers and those who, supported the colonizers. That's not talked about. Like our histories are directly impacted. They're directly connected. So the same things we have to deal with in America are similar to the same things we have to deal with in Nigeria. Just like we have a lack of information about Black history in America is the same way that Nigerians have a lack of history, lack of information or awareness about the history of Nigeria and what happened and how that affects our psyche and how that affects who we are, where we're placed on this earth and how we're scattered around this earth, how I can't fluently speak my language, how I don't completely know about my history or my culture. Those things are directly impacted by slavery and colonization and the following neocolonization, neocolonialism. So I always be careful to romanticize Nigeria, like, oh my gosh, everyone there is so woke, and just because we're all Black, there's no, like, there's people who regurgitate the same anti-Black stuff that people in America say, right? Because if everything you're taught is, colonized history and colonized culture and colonized traditions, then you're not going to think otherwise until you step outside of that and view it for the way it is, or if you have access to that information or you're being taught that in school. And there's very few schools in Nigeria that teach, about colonization through an Afrocentric point of view. So they're not going to know, or you're not going to have the words or tools just the same way here. There's very few places in America where you're taught about slavery or Jim Crow or all these, segregation in a decolonized way.